Meltdown crisis the first couple of minutes.
In the past few weeks, we have seen a generational meltdown on Reddit, not because of some terrible disaster or because of any humanitarian crisis, but simply because a bunch of white kids from the Midwest in America dared to celebrate their win at the Olympics in hockey. It's been one of the most hilarious things to witness how all these users slowly realize they are operating in a complete echo chamber filled with minority opinions.
Am I so out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong.
If you haven't followed the news, the US men's hockey team just went on a generational run at the Winter Olympics in Italy. They managed to win every single game they played, and in the final, which was the last day and last event of the whole Winter Olympics, we were given a game that was almost too good to be true. A final game between the US and Canada.
Please, I can't. No, please, no! No!
Now, of course, both you and I know, just like back in the 80s when the Americans beat the Soviet Union, that due to the current political landscape in North America,
Canada should honestly become our 51st state.
This matchup between the US and Canada would be far more than just a hockey match. Any outcome of this game would obviously in one way or another be used for political purposes and also end up being a massive shit show.
We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? There's too much to lose. We gotta just keep our composure.
With an overtime goal by Jack Hughes, the US beat Canada and secured their first Olympic win since the Miracle on Ice in 1980. So you would think everything was fine and dandy. It's the most prestigious win in hockey and at the Olympics, and the boys even had a very beautiful and emotional celebration honoring their beloved teammate Johnny Gaudreau, whose life was sadly taken by a drunk driver. You even had the boys bringing Gaudreau's kids onto the ice as the wife and mother was watching from the sideline with teared up eyes. A very touching moment, really showing what these boys are made of.
Oh my god!
But this is when, according to social media, the most grievous, horrible, terrible chain of events to ever face America, the first nuclear strike. For some reason, and kind of both random and hilarious, the head of the FBI, Kash Patel, was apparently in Italy and decided to show up and celebrate the win in the locker room downing beers with the team. This made certain people online very angry. But the second nuclear strike, and the one that made all hell break loose on Reddit and Twitter, to the point you would think this was 9/11 all over again. The FBI director then decides to call the president, so of course the president answers the call. He gives a speech to the locker room, congratulating them on the win, and for a few seconds he decides to crack a typical locker room joke.
I must tell you, we're gonna have to bring the women's team. You do know that. I do believe I probably would be impeached, okay?
Now, you can say what you want about the joke, whether it's bad taste or if it's just typical locker room banter. But this didn't just make some, but a lot of people very angry online. Not so much the joke itself, but the fact that a few of the boys dared for a few seconds to giggle at the joke. Now, if you know anything about Reddit, you probably already know how these people would react to a story and a clip such like this. Immediately after this locker room clip went viral online, the entire front page of the subreddit called r/hockey was flooded with posts raging against the men's hockey team, calling the entire squad disgusting misogynist or MAGA fanatics, to the point where you would think these boys were worse offenders than people like Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein, or Jeffrey Epstein. The pride I had in Team USA winning lasted for a couple milliseconds. Good job, guys. Tainting your victory with MAGA trash. Actually, these gross pieces of shit. This is absolutely disgusting. Everything about this is disgusting. Makes me not want to spend more time focused on hockey in general. Genuinely makes me sick to my stomach. It's one thing to be aware of the demographics of hockey players and their likely political views. It's another thing to watch them so callously mock women that they've spent the past 2 weeks outwardly supporting to the press. I have lost a lot of respect for every single guy on that team in the past 20 hours, especially the Huge. He is making fun of your mother and you are going to tee-hee along with him. Pathetic.
I am untethered and my rage knows no bounds!
But it wasn't just these thousands and thousands of users on the hockey forum. The clips went viral all over Reddit. The comments get even more funny once you venture outside of the hockey space and into the more politically radicalized communities on Reddit, the kind of places that are in the deep end of online culture wars. I knew the US men's team were MAGA, and I also have issues with the Canadian men's team. Hockey is grape culture, and people need to wake up to that fact that US men's locker room was just a room filled with Brock Turners. I don't think most people realize how insane that comment is. Brock Turner was a student athlete at Stanford that was convicted for graping another student in 2015. So here we have Reddit essentially claiming the entire men's national hockey team are all convicted grapists because they giggled at a locker room joke.
Boy, have you lost your mind, cause I'll help you find it. What you're looking for, ain't nobody gonna help you out there. Jesus can come through that door and he's not gonna help you.
This is of course another example of how Reddit completely denies reality, because the so-called white sport of hockey has by far the lowest conviction rate for serious crimes like SA and domestic violence for athletes amongst all major US sports.
Boy, was I wrong.
But of course, it doesn't even stop here. Left-wing influencers and streamers also couldn't stop themselves from joining in on the extreme and over-the-top inflammatory rhetoric, to the point where these boys' existence are now compared to a certain not-so-nice German regime from World War II.
You know, like those black and white photos that you see from like rallies and shit like that? This will be in history, okay? You are 100% pawns for the Nazi government.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Now, you probably already know, reality is very different compared to these sheltered online spaces, because what actually happened once these players returned back home to US soil and once again had to play in front of real humans and not online comments is that nobody gave two Fs about the so-called cancellation. Instead, the players were obviously welcomed as heroes.
Austin Matthews.
And forward, Jack Hughes.
I'm so proud and I'm so happy that the men's and women's USA hockey teams brought gold medals back to the United States of America.
That is when we witnessed something that I truly believe might be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. We got to see Reddit users legitimately realizing they are living in an echo chamber that doesn't actually represent real thoughts or opinions. I cannot believe people actually thought they'd get booed. I think anyone expecting players to get booed is sniffing some nuclear-grade opium. I genuinely think some of these people really thought they'd be able to cancel all these NHL players and get them fired from their teams. And I got downvoted to the core of the earth for saying they would receive a hero's welcome their first home game back. I knew Reddit was left-leaning, but I didn't realize how crazy of an echo chamber it actually is. The whole site will feel different now that you realize it. It's quite eye-opening. This sub is extremely unrepresentative of real-life hockey fans, especially in the US. The average hockey fan couldn't give a F about the politics of players. Exactly. Reddit is in its own world. Nobody in my day-to-day life gives an F about the players going to the White House. According to Reddit, it's the greatest hockey scandal of all time. Reddit is a massive echo chamber, and the users have a hard time understanding that, it seems. It's just Reddit being wildly out of touch with reality.
Well, well, well. Well, well, well. Well, well, well.
And this is just a snippet from several thousands of comments. I would say there could have been a lesson taught from all of this, but let's be real here. This is Reddit we are talking about. The second any of these people are once again triggered because of the most mundane incident, they will go straight back to their old ways as always.